Welcome to the Tom Sense Show. I am Tom Sense, and we are coming to you right now with the real story of what is happening in our country and across the globe. Before we dive into the headlines, a quick reminder that this is your show, and we are taking your questions right now in the chat on YouTube and over on X. If you have a real question that actually matters, throw it in the chat at any point during the broadcast, and I will answer it right here in the middle of the news. We do not do empty noise here, just the hard truth. So let us get straight to the stories that the mainstream media is trying to spin. We start this hour with a massive dose of reality from the newly appointed Attorney General, Todd Blanche. Over the weekend, Blanche went on NBC to speak with Kristen Welker, and she tried to trap him with the standard establishment talking point. She asked if he would pledge to keep the Department of Justice completely independent from the White House and President Donald Trump, acting like the Department of Justice has been some neutral sanctuary for the last 4 years. Well, Blanche did not play her game. He looked her in the eye and said, "No, I am not going to pledge that." Naturally, congressional Democrats and the talking heads on television are losing their minds, screaming that this is the end of the rule of law. But let us look at the plain thing that every single viewer can see, and the press keeps carefully stepping around. The Democrats spent the last 4 years using the federal courts and the Department of Justice as a political weapon to try to lock up their main political opponent. And now they want to lecture us about a neutral, independent justice system. It is absolutely laughable. Blanche also confirmed that the administration is ready to take the fight to the Supreme Court of the United States to seize control of state voter rolls after federal courts blocked them. Of course, the administration wants control over who is on the voter rolls. If we do not have clean voter lists, we do not have a country. The days of the Department of Justice acting as a law unto itself, protecting the establishment while targeting patriotic Americans, are over. Next up, we are looking at our northern border, where a massive trade showdown is reaching a boiling point. The United States Trade Representative, Jamieson Greer, held an emergency meeting in Washington on Sunday with Canadian Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc. They are scrambling because a Wednesday deadline is looming. If they do not reach a deal, President Donald Trump has made it clear that a 50% tariff will hit $28 billion worth of Canadian goods, including steel, aluminum, lumber, and cars. Now, what are the United States negotiators asking for? Something incredibly simple. They want Canadian provinces to stop blocking the sale of American alcohol. Meanwhile, the Canadians are begging for relief from existing softwood lumber tariffs. Canadian negotiators are already panicking, saying a deal might not happen because their local provinces do not want to give up their state-run alcohol monopolies. Let us apply the standard that the globalists always love to preach. They tell us that free trade is a two-way street and that open markets benefit everyone. But the moment the United States demands that American businesses actually get fair access to Canadian shelves, suddenly they want to protect their government-run liquor cartels. If Canada wants to keep selling billions of dollars of metal and wood to American consumers without paying a dime in tariffs, they need to open up their markets to American workers. President Trump understands that the only way to get a fair deal is to hold the line. And this Wednesday, Canada is going to find out that America First is not just a slogan. We turn now to some tragic news out of Europe that we are tracking this hour. Early on Sunday morning, a Polish-registered tourist bus carrying 59 people was traveling through Hungary on the M3 motorway. The passengers were Polish pilgrims returning home from a trip to Bosnia-Herzegovina. Around 1 o'clock in the morning near Mezokaristes, the bus veered off the road, crashed into a ditch, and overturned onto its side. This devastating crash has claimed the lives of 12 people and left 10 others seriously injured. Emergency crews rushed to the scene and had to use heavy cranes to lift the wreckage and free the passengers who were trapped inside. Hungarian Prime Minister Peter Magyar expressed his deepest condolences to the families of the victims and praised the rescue workers for their rapid response in the middle of the night. The Polish Foreign Minister, Radoslaw Sikorski, confirmed that Polish consular services are on the ground working closely with the Hungarian authorities to help the survivors and coordinate care. Local Hungarian police have taken the driver of the bus into custody under suspicion of falling asleep at the wheel as they continue their investigation into this terrible event. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families of the victims and the survivors of this tragedy during this incredibly difficult time. Now to the Middle East, where we are seeing some incredible diplomacy that has the foreign policy establishment completely stunned. Jared Kushner, acting as a negotiator for President Donald Trump, held a rare, high-stakes meeting in Egypt on Sunday with the leadership of Hamas. He is pitching a bold 15-point peace roadmap to break a 10-month diplomatic deadlock. The deal is straightforward but powerful. Hamas must completely disarm, and in exchange, Israel will withdraw its military forces from the Gaza Strip. Kushner is taking this plan straight to Jerusalem on Monday to present it to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, the media is already crying that this is impossible, pointing out that hardliners in Israel do not want a full military withdrawal, and Hamas wants permanent guarantees. But let us state the plain thing that every viewer can see, and the press keeps carefully stepping around. For decades, the career bureaucrats in Washington told us that peace in the Middle East was impossible without their endless meetings, their half measures, and their billions of dollars in aid that ended up in the wrong hands. Then the Trump administration came in and delivered the Abraham Accords. Now, Jared Kushner is bypassed the red tape and going straight to the table to demand real results. This is how business is done under a strong American president. We do not fund endless wars. We negotiate from a position of absolute strength to bring stability to the world. Back at home, congressional Democrats and liberal activist groups are launching a desperate, last-minute push to restructure the United States Supreme Court just as the midterm elections are heating up. They introduced a wave of extreme bills on Sunday, including plans to expand the bench from 9 to 13 justices, limit lifetime terms to 18 years, and impose strict new rules on how the court handles quick emergency rulings. Let us carry their own position to the place nobody on their side is willing to say out loud. If the Democrats believe that the rules of our country should be changed every single time they lose a vote, we might as well let the losing team in the Super Bowl change the scoreboard in the fourth quarter so they can feel better about themselves. This has absolutely nothing to do with ethics or judicial reform. It is a temper tantrum, plain and simple. For decades, liberals used activist judges to bypass Congress and force their radical agenda on the American people. Now that we have a constitutionalist majority that actually reads the text of the Constitution, the left wants to tear the entire system down. Republicans are rightly calling this what it is, a partisan attempt at court packing that would destroy the separation of powers. The American people see right through it, and this desperate move is only going to backfire on them at the ballot box this November. Finally, we are watching the presidential campaign kickoff in Brazil, and it is a battle between globalism and freedom. The election season started on Sunday with massive, dueling rallies. The current left-wing president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, spoke to 10,000 supporters and immediately started whining about the United States. He accused Washington of interfering in Brazil's election to help his opponent, Flavio Bolsonaro, by placing tariffs on Brazilian minerals and revoking their ambassador's visa. Meanwhile, Flavio Bolsonaro, the son of former President Jair Bolsonaro, who is still unjustly held under house arrest, drew massive crowds of patriots to Copacabana Beach in Rio de Janeiro. Flavio made the common sense case that he is the only leader who can negotiate fair trade deals with the United States, China, and Israel. Let us apply the standard that the globalist left always uses. When a conservative leader defends his nation, the media calls him a dangerous nationalist. But when a socialist leader like Lula fails to run his country, runs his economy into the ground, and has to blame American tariffs for his own disasters, they call it standing up to imperialism. It is the same old story. Lula is terrified because he knows the people of Brazil want law, order, and economic freedom, not socialist excuses. The momentum is with the patriots in Brazil, and we will be watching this race closely all the way to October. That is our show for this hour. Keep your eyes open, stand up for what you believe in, and never let them silence your common sense. I am Tom Sense, and we will see you next time right here on the air.